The man stood firm in the field, his dark suit a stark contrast against the earthy tones of the rural landscape. As he pointed toward the farmhouse in the distance, his face contorted with a mixture of anger and frustration, it became evident that this was no ordinary day in the quiet expanse of the countryside. The muted greens and browns of the surroundings seemed to amplify the tension simmering within him, the sky above poised between serenity and storm. "What gives them the right?" he muttered, his voice barely more than a growl against the whispering wind. Each word dripped with years of unspoken resentment, and a sense of finality hung in the air, like the moment before a storm breaks. The farmhouse, small but resolute against the horizon, had always been a symbol of the life he had envisioned, a place of community, of dreams built on hard work. But now, those dreams felt threatened, twisted into something unrecognizable. "Do you even see it?" he said, turning slightly to face the woman who stood behind him, her expression a mixture of concern and confusion. "Every time they step foot on that property, they take another piece of what this land means. They think it's just a plot to be developed, but it's so much more." The woman, slightly hesitant, took a step forward. "But there's nothing we can do, Martin. You can't fight City Hall." "Is that what you really believe?" he snapped back, the boldness in his voice catching her off guard. "That we have to just roll over and let them dictate what happens here? This land has history. My father worked it, his father before him. It's not just dirt, it's our legacy." As he spoke, a fire ignited within him, and he took a step toward the dirt road that wound its way toward the farmhouse, his mind racing with possibilities. If they're allowed to build that monstrosity, everything changes. The character of this place, the people's hearts, it all fades away into a memory. And I won't let that happen. The woman, her brow furrowed, glanced toward the farmhouse, then back at him. "I understand the sentiment, but we have to be realistic. You can't win every battle. What's your plan, exactly?" Martin paused, inhaling deeply as the wind carried the scent of wildflowers. Anger was only part of it. He felt something larger bubbling beneath the surface, a sense of urgency. "I have a plan," he replied, his voice steady now, as if the spark of inspiration had caught hold. "I'm going to rally the community. Get everyone on board. If we show them we won't stand down, they might reconsider." "Oh, Martin, it's not that simple. You think the townsfolk will just follow you?" She hesitated, clearly concerned. "What if they're not interested?" "Then I'll make them interested," he asserted, a newfound determination shifting his stance. "Show them what's at stake. It's not just about me or my family, it's about preserving this place, every memory it holds. I'll stand here and fight even if I'm the last one left." His words hung in the air between them, charged with an energy that was almost palpable. The woman sensed the gravity of his resolve. As clouds gathered ominously over the landscape, she hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I'll help you, but you need to consider every angle. We might need allies." "Nobody's going to take this seriously unless we make some noise," Martin said, pacing slightly, his mind racing with images of flyers, town hall meetings, and mobilizing their neighbors. "Let's spread the word and create a commotion. They think they can bulldoze through us with money and power, but they've underestimated our spirit." With a heavy heart but a glimmer of hope, the woman nodded. "All right, let's do it. But we have to be strategic. This could get ugly." He clenched his fists, an undercurrent of excitement coursing through him. "Let them come. Let them try to silence us. This land is worth fighting for, and together, we can turn the tide." As they set off down the dirt road, determination replaced the frustration that had led him to that moment. As they reached the beginning of the path that led back to the community, the farmhouse still loomed behind them, a symbol of both what was at stake and what they were fighting against. The shadows grew longer as the sun inched further down the sky, but Martin felt a fire ignited deep within, propelling him forward with a sense of undeniable purpose. What he didn't know was that the struggle ahead would unveil secrets buried deep in the past, darker truths about the land and the people who once tended it. Little did he realize that this fight for preservation would lead to a confrontation not just with developers, but with the very history he was determined to protect. And as whispers of resentment and betrayal began to swirl, the stakes would rise higher than he could ever have imagined. The confrontation was just beginning, but already, Martin could hear the distant echoes of the past intertwining with the present, hinting at a story that begged to be unraveled. A change was coming to Maplewood, and it rested squarely upon his shoulders, one that would either set the community ablaze with unity or shatter it to pieces. As Martin and the woman walked towards the community, determination surged through him, each step echoing a silent promise to rally the townspeople and stand firm against the encroaching threat. He felt the weight of history on his shoulders, yet an unshakable resolve pushed him forward. Arriving at the community center, he found a mix of familiar faces already gathered, engaged in quiet conversations. The gentle hum of chatter filled the air, but it fell silent as Martin approached the podium, his heart pounding like a drum. He could feel the weight of their gazes, curious and concerned, resting heavily upon him. It was time to turn his frustration into action and inspire them to see what was at stake. He cleared his throat, which felt dry despite the fervor bubbling beneath the surface. "Everyone," he began, his voice carrying through the room, though tinged with uncertainty, "thank you for coming." A flicker of doubt crept in, but he pushed it aside. "I know recent developments have caused some worry, but what's happening is more than just a construction project. It's an outright affront to our way of life, our heritage." A palpable silence enveloped the room, broken only by the sound of footsteps from the back. It was Alex, a longtime resident known for his skepticism on various matters, sauntering in and folding his arms, a silent watchman assessing the mood. Martin's heart raced, anticipating the challenge Alex might bring. "What you're saying sounds noble, but have you thought about the consequences?" Alex interjected, skepticism sharp in his voice. "We're not exactly a powerful lot. What can we do against the interests backing that project? Local government is corrupt. They won't care about what you think." "But that's where you're wrong," Martin retorted, passion surging. "The power lies with the community. If we stand together, we can influence the council. We can demand a voice in the decisions being made about our land. This isn't just about one development, it's about all of us." Alex raised an eyebrow, still unconvinced. "And if they ignore us? If they brush us off? You'll just be shouting into the void." The tension in the room grew thick, murmurs bouncing softly between citizens. Biting his lip, Martin thought quickly, recalling the stories of unity woven by the very fabric of Maplewood, tales of neighbors coming together to protect what mattered. "Remember the fight to save the old oak tree?" he called, attempting to invoke a shared memory. "That tree was special to all of us. It brought everyone together against the town council when they wanted to cut it down. We won then, didn't we? Our voices matter. Together, we're stronger." Seeing some heads nodding slowly in agreement brought a flicker of hope, but Alex remained unconvinced. "You think that was a real victory? We just delayed the inevitable. People forget, and businesses always find a way." "No," Martin insisted, summoning every ounce of conviction he could muster. "This is different. I understand it feels daunting, but we need to act. Even the tiniest voice can echo across the valley. We cannot just stand by as they trample our dreams into the mud. We need allies, not just here but in the surrounding areas. We'll create an outreach." The shift was subtle, yet palpable. Whispers grew softer as some in attendance began to improve their posture, visibly intrigued. The woman at his side squeezed his arm, silently encouraging him onward. "Let's organize a town meeting," she suggested, echoing Martin's fervor. "Everyone deserves a chance to share their thoughts. We'll put out flyers, connect online. We'll show them we will not be silenced." "Yes," a voice called from the back. It was Mrs. Thompson, known for her gardening tips and sweet blueberry pies. "And we can host it right here. We'll reach out to the neighboring towns. They might join us if they see the strength of our gathering." Martin felt the fire within him grow even brighter. "Exactly. We'll show them how much this means to us." I'll speak up, and I hope you'll stand with me. Together, we can create a movement." As he spoke, a spark ignited in the atmosphere, an ember of hope and determination. The spirit of resistance began to rise, mingling with memories of triumphant gatherings from years past. Martin could feel the tide shifting, hearts stirring with newfound resolve. "We can create banners, share stories, post on social media, and gather signatures. We'll be relentless." Martin's voice grew stronger as he began pacing with an energy that fueled everyone's anticipation. "But we can't stop there. We need to confront those who seek to exploit our home. Our history is much larger than any development schematic. It belongs to every one of us. We're the guardians of our legacy, and we will not back down." The crowd erupted in a mixture of applause and agreement, voices raised in enthusiasm. Alex, still skeptical, could only shake his head in disbelief, but even he could feel the tremors of the shared sentiment permeating the room. As the meeting proceeded, Martin took in the faces around him, the smiles of the hopeful, the furrowed brows of the unsure, but one thing was undeniable. There was a shared urgency, a collective battle cry building amongst them. He could envision banners fluttering, neighbors uniting, and the spirit of Maplewood rising like the old oak tree they had once saved. When the meeting concluded, the atmosphere buzzed with nervous energy. Conversations spilled out into the evening air as plans were hatched and alliances formed. Martin stepped outside into the twilight, the whispers of the crowd behind him comforting like an old friend. He could feel the anticipation pulsing through the ground, as if roots were intertwining beneath the soil, connecting everyone together. But as he stood there, staring at the distant outlines of the farmhouse, he felt that uneasy shiver again, a shadow lurking just beyond the horizon. What would unfold next? He had ignited the fire, but the challenge ahead promised to be steep, especially as he would soon discover that not everyone wanted the past to be saved. Some would stop at nothing to silence them. In the depths of his heart, he understood that this journey was just beginning and that hidden truths awaited him, waiting to burst forth with a force he couldn't yet comprehend. The confrontation of tradition against ambition had only just begun, and Martin was about to find out just how precarious their stand for preservation would be. As the twilight deepened into an indigo sky, Martin watched the last rays of the sun fade behind the horizon, the vibrant energy from the meeting still swirling in his veins. But as he stood there, the distant farmhouse took on a new weight, a reminder of the challenges that lay ahead. He felt an unsettling knot in his stomach, knowing that confronting the developers would require not just courage, but a deeper understanding of the situation, something he hadn't fully grasped yet. The night wore on, and he returned home, the quiet of his living room greeting him like an old friend. He plopped onto his worn-out couch, surrounded by family photographs and mementos of times gone by. Memories of laughter and love saturated the air, but tonight, those echoes were fought by whispers of anxiety. He picked up an old photo of his father, standing proudly on this very land, a sunlit grin plastered on his face. "I won't let you down, Dad," Martin murmured, feeling the weight of legacy as he set the photograph down. Sleep eluded him as thoughts swirled like a tempest, strategies to inspire his neighbors, gather allies, but foremost among them, the nagging apprehension about the developers. Who were they? What backed them? For now, the only thing he could do was prepare for the town meeting they had scheduled for the following week, where they would bring the community together to stand tall against the impending threat. As dawn painted the world anew the next day, Martin awoke determined. He crafted flyers, combining passionate calls to action with the importance of their shared heritage. He and the woman, whom he had learned was named Lily, canvassed nearby neighborhoods, distributing the flyers and engaging anyone who would pause to listen. To their surprise, people responded with eagerness, fueled by a growing sense of urgency as the date of the meeting approached. Weeks passed, and the townsfolk buzzed with anticipation. Conversations erupted in cafes and parks. When the day finally arrived, Martin arrived early to set up the community center, his heart racing. He noticed that a few people had begun to gather, some carrying homemade signs advocating for preservation, Others whispered their memories of the land that had cradled their families for generations. As the meeting commenced, Martin stood at the podium, bolstered by the crowd gathered before him, their earnest expressions reflecting unity. He shared stories, recounting cherished memories of gatherings, families farming alongside one another, friendships born under the shade of trees. And as sentiment filled the room, voices of support, applause erupted. Together, they would stand against the tide. However, at that moment, the doors swung open and a figure entered, drawing immediate attention. With a confident stride, Alex walked in, accompanied by two other men in tailored suits, an aura of authority surrounding them. A collective gasp swept across the room, and whispers broke out in fervor. Martin's heart sank. Who were they, and what business did they have at this meeting? "We're here to discuss the proposed developments," Alex announced, his tone measured but firm. "And we'd like to set the record straight." The atmosphere shifted. Uncertainty rippled through the crowd. Martin clenched his fists, but he took a deep breath, unwilling to cede control. "This meeting is for the community to discuss their concerns," he asserted. "If you're here to share different perspectives, then please, enlighten us." Alex smirked, revealing a confidence that cut through the air like a knife. "I appreciate your enthusiasm, Martin, but the truth is, the developments are going to happen. They're essential for economic growth. Maplewood can't stagnate. The world is evolving, and so must we." "We're not against progress," Martin responded, his voice steady despite the encroaching tension. "But at what cost? If you bulldoze through our history, you'll tarnish our very identity. We deserve a chance to preserve what makes this land special." The two men with Alex exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of bemusement and impatience. "That might be a lofty ideal," one said, his voice cool and unyielding, "but that's not how businesses work. They have plans to improve infrastructure, bring in jobs. The town needs this, and often community sentiment falls below economic necessity." "Community sentiment matters," Lily interjected, stepping up beside Martin, her courage and inspiration. "Once you erase history, it's gone forever. This land isn't just an asset for profit, it is woven into the very fabric of who we are." A ripple of agreement spread through the crowd as nods and murmurs of support surged from all directions. Their determination felt like a protective wall against the looming threat. However, Alex raised a hand, a signal that demanded silence. "There's another side to this, one I believe you all deserve to know." Martin tensed, anticipating secrets that would unravel threads of camaraderie into uncertainty. "What do you mean?" he asked, his heart pounding. Alex took a step closer, his gaze sweeping over the assembled townsfolk. "The company has plans that extend beyond just the farmhouse. They've been in talks to acquire more land, land that connects us all, land that's belonged to families for generations. They intend to turn it into a commercial center. If you fight them, you risk not just your home, but the very heart of this community." Gasps of disbelief rippled across the room, eyes flickering wide with astonishment and fear. The burden of Alex's words weighed heavy, smothering the resolve that had momentarily blossomed. One by one, worry began to permeate their ranks, planting seeds of doubt where unity had flourished. Martin's stomach twisted. The stakes were higher than he had assumed, and a deep sense of foreboding filled him. "But our history, our community, it's worth fighting for," he shouted, desperate to rekindle their fire. "We can't lose faith now," Lily added, her voice strong despite the encroaching doubts. "We belong to this land, each and every one of us." But what resonated loudest was the uncertainty hanging over them, a fog that could dampen the strongest spirits. As murmurs of insecurity rose like a tide, Martin suddenly realized that not only did they face a battle against the developers, but a potential fracture among neighbors. Doubt had begun to weave into the very fabric of their collective resistance, and Martin felt the moment teeter precariously between hope and despair. As the meeting finally drew to a close, Martin locked eyes with Alex, an understanding unspoken between them. He had come to realize they were no longer just adversaries, but intertwined in a web of conflicting motivations, the past against the present, community against commerce. As the last remnants of voices faded and the crowd dispersed, the weight of the confrontation hung heavy in the crisp night air. With the shadow of uncertainty looming ever closer, Martin knew he had a new battle on his hands, not just for the land but for the hearts and minds of his neighbors. He could feel it deep within. The story was far from over, and in its unfolding, truths yet to be revealed would test their unity and the depths of their resolve. What lay ahead would force him to confront not only external foes but the very foundation of his beliefs and what it meant to truly fight for the place he called home. As Martin stepped out into the cool evening air, the weight of uncertainty pressed heavily upon his shoulders. The meeting had not gone as he had hoped. Doubts hovered thickly among the townsfolk, complicating what should have been a moment of unity. He forced himself to breathe, attempting to quell the emerging storm of thoughts racing through his mind. The landscape stretched before him like a quilt stitched together by memories, laughter, and sorrow, all intertwined in a narrative his community had built together over generations. He could still hear Alex's voice echoing in his ear, the dispassionate reminders of progress at the expense of their heritage. The battle lines had been drawn, and whatever decisions were made now would not only shape the future of Maplewood, but the very essence of its people. It was more than just a fight for the land. It became a struggle for their identity. Walking through the dimly lit streets, he felt the vibration of footsteps behind him. It was Lily, her presence a balm against the ache of uncertainty. "Hey," she said softly, falling into step beside him. "Are you okay?" "I don't know," Martin admitted, his voice nearly a whisper. "I thought we could rally everyone and fight together, but doubt is creeping in, and I'm worried that it's taking root." Lily nodded, understanding etched across her features. "People are scared. It's one thing to stand up for values and traditions. It's another when confronted with the loss of something tangible, their homes, their businesses. We need to remind them of what they stand to lose." Just then, a figure emerged from the shadows ahead, and Martin squinted, recognition dawning as it was Mrs. Thompson, refreshed from the earlier meeting and clutching a handful of papers tight against her chest. "Martin!" "Lily," she called, waving them closer. "I came to find you. What's wrong?" Martin asked, concern lacing his tone. "I wanted to share something," she said, her cheeks flushed with excitement. "In the fallout of today's meeting, I remembered something the town had kept tucked away, historical documents concerning the land. We may have legal rights, aspects of preservation that could bolster our argument." Martin's heart raced as she continued pouring out details about old claims, the maps of land once settled, and promises made by earlier generations to protect the valley from overdevelopment. Each revelation spun a web of history that ignited hope within him. "Why wasn't this brought up before?" Lily asked, curiosity piquing. "I'm not sure," Mrs. Thompson said, her voice somber now. "Some documents fell into disrepair, and with so many forgetting our roots, it didn't seem important. But if we can dig deeper, perhaps rally our case around these documents, we could show the council that this is not just land, but our legacy." A fire surged within Martin, a flicker of determination amid the exhaustion. "How do we start?" "Tomorrow," Mrs. Thompson replied, her hair dancing in the gentle night breeze. "Meet me at my home. We can organize everything, the documents, gather more people, and present a united front. We need all hands on deck." "Yes, we need everyone to see this," Martin exclaimed, quickly brainstorming. "Maybe we can plan a rally, bring attention to our heritage while using these documents to reinforce our stance." With newfound energy, the trio began discussing their strategy, ideas flowing between them like a river bursting with life. The shadows of doubt began to fade with every suggestion, solidifying into something much stronger, a purpose. In the days that followed, the town became a hive of activity. They met at Mrs. Thompson's home, digging through boxes of dusty records, discovering connections to their ancestry, and uncovering legal avenues to protect their community. The belief in their power to create change took on a new life, infusing the ranks with voices filled with anticipation. As word spread, fellow townsfolk began to emerge, re-engaging in the rich tapestry of Maplewood's existence. Children drew posters, elders shared stories of the land, and everyone began to contribute their strengths to the cause. The collective heart of Maplewood swelled with hope and spirit, rekindled by the very roots of its identity. The day of the rally arrived. A mixture of anxious energy and vibrant camaraderie filled the air, the square bustling with people holding banners adorned with powerful slogans like "Preserve our roots" and "Home is heritage." Yet, even amid the joyous atmosphere, a sense of apprehension lingered beneath the surface, awareness of the impending confrontation lingering with each passing moment. Martin stood before the gathered crowd, an electrifying rush coursing through him. He felt like the heart of the community, a symbolic bridge connecting their voices. "Thank you all for coming," he began, warmth rising with his words. "Today, we honor our past and defend our future. With every smile, hand shaken, and story shared, we're standing up together, united against those who wish to erase us for profit." Cheers erupted, and the energy surged once again, igniting the crowd. Families began sharing their stories, deepening the connection, and reaffirming their commitment to not let the depth of their roots be washed away by the tide of indifference. As the rally wore on, Martin felt the strength of their shared fight, but as evening settled in, and the sun dipped low in the gold-tinged sky, a sickening chill crept up his spine, his heart racing as he noticed dark clouds rolling in from the distance. Recalling Alex's words from the meeting, an unsettling thought gnawed at him. How far would the investors go to secure their plans? Would they stir unrest, force confrontation to silence their voices? The air crackled with electricity, blending optimism and tension, and the crowd swelled, pulses quickening as they saw the representatives of the development company approaching from the other side of the square. Encircled by curiosity and some trepidation, Martin stood his ground. This was no longer a mere debate in a community center. It was a defining moment for the very essence of Maplewood. With Lily at his side, the hope of the town resting firmly on their shoulders, they awaited the clash. As the figures got closer, Martin stepped forward, raising his voice above the crowd, fueled by the spirit of the town gathered behind him. "We've come together not to fight each other, but to protect what we hold dear. We will be heard. This is where we stand. This is our home." With that declaration ringing through the air like a rallying cry, Martin knew that whatever transpired next, the outcome of this battle would resonate beyond mere land or profit. It would determine the very heart and soul of Maplewood and the bonds that tied them. As tempers flared and words clashed, he felt it in his bones that their journey was only just beginning. Their fight for the land would require more than passion. It would demand sacrifice, resilience, and above all, a fierce commitment to ensure that every story of their heritage would continue to echo into eternity.